All right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to another episode of Bourbon and Bible Stories. It's been a while. It's been a while since we've been here, and I've been doing a lot of things, and I'm doing a little something different today, something that is a little bit more topical and a little bit more of an interview style. And so, if this is anyone's first time, I'm Dante Milligan. I'm a minister, I'm a theologian, an educator, and I'm going to be talking about a really important topic today. One, because it's a great topic, and also because I have a project for my second master's degree in sacred theology. And so today we're going to be talking about womanist theology, and I'm going to be kind of summing up what that is and some material that I studied in a class in seminary. And I have some friends with me to really bounce some of this conversation off with. So I want to first start with the wonderful woman to my left.
Hello, I'm Alexis Freddie B. I'm a Christian sexologist and mental health therapist. Dante said, tell y'all my credentials. So I have a master's degree in community psychology and social change, as well as a master's in education and human sexuality studies.
Oh, good. And of course,
Whew. My name is Ricky. I'm just that boy from Philly, man. I don't even know why I'm here, to be honest with you. Appreciate you taking this.
Sometimes just like comic relief.
I am a community leader. I do programming around the city for Parks and Recreation, and I'm also a creative. So I do podcasting, photography, videography, and I just love creating.
Good.
Yeah. But I'm a Christian, and I feel like I have it on my heart to show people that Christians can have fun too.
Yeah.
So we're gonna talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And speaking of fun, the name of the podcast is Bourbon and Bible Stories, and so we always like to have just a little drink while we have our conversation. So we just cheers as we get started here.
What's this?
Cheers.
Bourbon.
Cheers.
Lex is gonna act like she likes this drink, y'all, but she don't. So before I jump too deep into the material, you both did mention being Christian. Can both of you just talk about your like how long you've been Christian and what your like relationship is to the Black church specifically?
Yeah, I'll go. I first walked into church when I was about 6 years old. I only went because my friends were going. So, long story short, I was like, Mom, Dad, let's go to church. They said, church? Like, great. Like, they weren't in a church like that. So I started at 6, and I've just been there my whole life. They became deacons. I became leaders in my own respect at the church. I took a break from church, went to college. That's where you really find God.
Come on.
When you're young, shout out to the choir, BCG. That was like my church up there.
Right.
Then you kind of find a new relationship with God in your adulthood. I primarily went to a Black church my whole life, non-denominational. I recently joined a Methodist church, and it's kind of old school Black. You know what I'm saying? It has that zeal that I needed that I felt like was missing for a while. So, yeah.
I've been in the church my whole life. North Philly, for those who are familiar with Philadelphia 33rd and Diamond, Cornerstone Baptist Church. And I'm a church girl through and through. We were at church 3 times, 4 times a week. So Sunday school, Bible study, vacation Bible school, the Pennsylvania State Baptist Convention. I was on the usher board, the choir, the youth ministry, the drama team, the step team. You name it, I was in it. And then going to college, same thing. Joined Bloomsburg Gospel Choir. I was the lead tenor. And then also supporting the church ministry up there with churches coming up to visit to give sermons, have church services for the students, also traveling to Williamsport for services. And then coming home, just like Ricky said, and then rediscovering Christ for myself. That was a doozy.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, that was real. So getting to know God, Christ specifically, as an adult with, while adulting, that was something totally different. So,
yeah. And I wanted to ask that because we're getting into what's called womanist or Black womanist theology and ethics, and this really comments a lot on the Black church, and so it's important to talk to people who are grounded in the Black church in one way or another. So I've said this word womanist a lot. And for people at home, for people listening that don't know exactly what that is or what that means, feminism, which is a movement that we're all probably familiar with in one way or another, was a secular movement that happened as women fought for suffrage and for their rights. And then in the early 19th century, a lot of Black women, people like Sojourner Truth, stepped up and said, hold up, ain't I a woman? Aren't I a woman too? And they felt that the experiences of Black women were not being represented in the larger movement. So Alice Walker, who is the author of The Color Purple, if you don't know, came up with this idea called womanism, which is supposed to be an all-encompassing idea of feminism that's supposed to really represent the Black woman's experience. Now you might be saying, Pastor Dante, what does that have to do with the church? So somebody at home might be saying,
what you talking about that?
All right. You see how your friends do you? Don't care about titles. But
neither's God.
Hey, there you go. No, but you might be saying, what does that have to do with the church? And much like history and other things, theology as a study was dominated by white men. And so what people often say, well, this is theology, is mostly dominated by white male Christians. And so in, again, the 19th century, you see liberation theology from Latin America, Black liberation theology, which is actually where you get a lot of Martin Luther King Jr.'s ideals from, people like Howard Thurman, James Cone. And you also see feminist theology and womanist theology. They begin to talk about how to read scripture through a Black woman's lens, and they begin to talk about the Black woman experience in the church. And so what I really had the privilege of doing over this last week or so is taking a class with several other clergy from around the Philadelphia area for my second master's degree. And we read a lot of these Black woman theologians and what they were saying and some of their representations of life, and also how they critiqued the Black church. And so I'm going to be kind of going through some quotes and things from the different books that we read, and just kind of throwing some questions out to hear them from a Black woman who's a Christian and a sexologist, and kind of give your perspective and your spin on it, and a Black man who has been in the church his whole life, and your mother's Black, right? The women that you serve around are Black, and how you have to navigate that. The one thing I'm going to do before, and I'm apologizing in advance, y'all. There's going to be a lot of quotes and definitions, only because this is also a project. So my professor is the most important viewer of this. I love everybody that views this, comments, likes, and shares, but I got to get this grade, so I got to make sure that this material is in here. So I said earlier, Alice Walker came up with this definition. And so listen to this definition. It's a little bit different than when someone says, oh, here's the definition of a word, and you'll see what I mean. Okay. Womanist, from womanish, opposite of girlish, frivolous, irresponsible, or not serious. A Black feminist or feminist of color. From the Black folk expression of mothers to female children, you act in womanish like a woman. Usually referring to outrageous, audacious, courageous, or willful behavior, wanting to know more and in greater depth than is considered good for one, interested in grown-up doings, acting grown up, being grown up, interchangeable with another Black folk expression, you trying to be grown, responsible, in charge, serious. Also, a woman who loves other women, sexually and or non-sexually, appreciates and prefers women's culture, women's emotional flexibility, values tears as a natural counterbalance to laughter, and women's strength, sometimes loves individual men, sexually and or non-sexually, committed to survival and wholeness of entire people, male and female, not a separatist, except periodically for health. Traditionally a universalist, as in, Mama, why are we brown, pink, and yellow, and our cousins are white, beige, and black? Answer, well, the colored race is just like a flower garden, with every color flower represented. Traditionally capable, as in, Mama, I'm walking to Canada, and I'm taking you and a bunch of other slaves with me. Reply, it wouldn't be the first time. Loves music, loves dance, loves the moon, loves the spirit, loves love and food and roundness, loves struggle, loves the folk, loves herself regardless. Womanist is to feminist as purple is to lavender. So there's a lot there. Yeah. I said it's not a typical definition. What do you hear when you first hear that? What is your sort of first reactions? And it's intent. I'm going to say it's intentionally odd. Okay. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I hear contradiction. Yeah. I hear, I guess an emotional. I told you I'm a mental health therapist. Mm-hmm. So emotionally, what comes up for me is confusion, and then also a little sadness because I'm taken back to like childhood years where I was told, oh, you're starting to smell yourself, which is like the same thing. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, when you're using the definition of trying to be grown, in there was also responsible. Mm-hmm. So I'm responsible, I'm trying to be grown, and then I love struggle. So if I'm responsible, I love struggle. Like I love struggle because I'm responsible. So I hear it like contradiction, and then the emotional parts that come up for me is tired. Tired. Like black, like if I identify as a womanist, even a feminist, because a feminist is a womanist is what that definition is saying. I have to buy into all of that. Right. And I don't know if I get down with that.
Right. Confusion was definitely one of the words. But I feel like you're trying to box someone in with that term. It's like, and I use this for black people, not just women. Like we're not a monolith, right? We're all different. So falling in that definition, like, all right, well, maybe I do like this, or maybe I do exhibit these characters, but I'm not that. And so it's like, why are we trying to label like? And then I feel like the person who made this don't even know what they're talking about. Because it's like you kind of contradict yourself. You just throwing things out. It's like young, old, struggle. It's like, all right. You're
just going to disrespect the great sister Alice Walker like that? That's crazy. Man, she wrote The Color Purple, boy.
I got some questions about that,
too. So in the classroom full of people getting master's and doctorate degrees, everybody had the same reaction. Like, what's going on here? And we zoned in on this one part at the very end where she says, womanist is to feminist as purple is to lavender. And I was kind of like, well, what's that supposed to mean? And then someone was like, well, lavender is a deeper purple. And I was like, or other way around, whichever way. Yeah. Purple is a deeper lavender. And so the idea, and this was something we got to more and more as we read different women's literature and things like that. What I think she's trying to do here is represent the whole of an experience, which is like all of our lives are contradictions. Like we're all saints and sinners at the same time. Like we have all of these things. We're all walking contradictions all the time. And so, you have these moments where she's talking about who you love, but then also who you don't love. At one point it's you love women, and at one point it's you love men. At one point it's you're a feminist. At one point it's but you're not exclusively a feminist. And I think what she's saying is womanism is about the whole experience of black women. And I think she's actually trying not to put women in a box, black women in a box, by saying, and you can't really hear it in me saying this, but when you read the definition, it's split into, I read it all at once, but it's split into 4 parts. And so it's like, it's this, but it could also be this, but it could also be this, but it could also be that.
Yeah, now when I heard you read, I was like, my womanist?
Yeah. Could be. So yeah, that's a good way to just jump off, and I'm gonna jump into the first book that we read together as a class, which is called Stand Your Ground, and it's by a woman named Kelly Brown Douglas, and this book really begins with talking about the Trayvon Martin killing and the Stand Your Ground law, and then the culture around that law that allowed for the killer of Trayvon Martin to walk free, and then reflects on the experiences of the women in Trayvon's life. We read a lot about his mother and things like that. Something that she got to that was really interesting to me was she talked a lot about the hypersexualization of the Black body, right? And the whole kind of subtext of this book is she really goes in this history of how Black bodies have become devalued. And that's how eventually we get to a Trayvon Martin, right? So I'm going to read something. This is from page 237 of the book. And she says, the primary reason for the construction of Black people as hypersexualized was to support the sexual abuse of the Black body during slavery. According to this stereotypic construction, Black women are Jezebels. That is, sexual temptress, always thirsting for sex. Black men are sexually proficient, predatory bucks who are always on the prowl for their next sexual conquest. She also talks a little bit about some of the early, I'm going to call it pseudoscience, behind some of this. So she quotes a Harvard professor at the time and biologist, Louis Agassiz, who says, even if one assumed that the environment contributed to many of these differences, so he's talking about race, he said there was not enough time from the point humans migrated to different environmental contexts for the environment to create such a radical variance. So he's saying our race isn't because we lived in different parts of the world. Then he says, we can see but one conclusion to be drawn. Races cannot have assumed their peculiar features after they migrated. The variation between races was introduced by the Creator. Negroes were by nature submissive, obquiescive, and imitative, and it was mock philosophy to consider them equal to whites. So he essentially says, and again, this is a Harvard biologist in the 1800s.
You're trying to make me mad.
That Black people have these natural things that make them subordinate, and this was endowed on them by God. So this is really the root of not only the hypersexualization of the Black body, but the devaluation of the Black body in the minds of people who considered themselves Christians, because they were able to say, well, this comes from God.
What was his name?
Louis Agassiz.
On just Ancestry.com on Louis.
So, Ancestry.com, right? Yeah, right?
Descendants.
So the first question I want to ask is, do you believe the hypersexualization of Black women's bodies has made its way into the church via purity culture?
I remember...
You're not going to let the woman speak first? No, I'm playing.
I'm a womanist.
Yeah.
Dang. Oh, yeah. I remember one of my wildest experiences in church. There's been many, but related to this topic. Two ladies. There was a new person that came in the church, first time visitor, and wasn't paying no mind. And one of the saints took that cloth.
Oh yeah.
Took that cloth. Didn't say good morning. God bless you. Thank you for coming. Straight, right on her lap. She was like, "What are you? Why are you touching me?" Whole freak out moment.
Yeah.
I'm like, "What's going on in the front?" And it has to do with, like, in the church, women can't wear certain things. Gotta be covered up down to here. What's it called? What's it called?
The modesty blanket.
Yeah. Quick, but without reading.
Right.
And I was like, and we want people to come in here? Like, so I feel like I remember that vividly. And I was like, oh, y'all wilding.
Yeah.
I would say absolutely. And when speaking specifically to purity culture, we're talking about taking Christians, right? Because that's what we're talking about. Purity culture,
right?
It was created for Christians, but taking that, and you're talking about middle schoolers, so puberty, prepubescent in some instances, but we're talking about making promises, making vows, demonizing sexual acts, demonizing sexual behavior, talking about modesty, what that looks like, and it's primarily geared towards females.
Yeah, absolutely.
Even when you talk about, like, the prayer club, like, men can come in if they were pants hanging down. You don't see
nobody
the deacons walking behind them with a belt. Like, hey, there you go.
Yeah.
But when we talk about the hypersexualization of the Black body, specifically, by way of purity culture, it has created this group of people that then, which I see a lot, and what I do as a Christian sexologist, it builds up a lot of shame and guilt around not only sexual behaviors, but I'm talking about your body.
Yeah.
If you have big breasts, what does that mean? If you have bigger hips, what does that mean? If you are 14 and you have big hips, oh, you must be having sex. If your butt gets a little bigger, oh, you must be having sex. So the deaconess, they're whispering, and the trustees, they're whispering, and now you got to go sit down in the pastor's office and talk about something that you're not.
That's vulnerable. Yeah.
And then even when we talk about how purity culture then goes into and affects marriage, because if you do buy into that, this is what God has deemed as right. It's only missionaries, the only thing he smiles upon, and it's only for the sense of procreation. You get into marriages and you have people who are living either sexless or horrible sex lives because they are gilded by that shame and that guilt around either desire, fantasy, pleasure, and just ill-informed. And a lot of that does come from, specifically, it may come from the shame of, this is my body. These are natural feelings that I have, but I was told at a young age that this was wrong and this was of the devil and, to die to my flesh.
Right.
But to die to my
That's not what that means.
And to leave that be. And it's sad because even outside of the church, when we talk about the hypersexualization of Black bodies altogether, you talk about men, because we don't talk enough about the hypersexualization of men. So I'm glad that the excerpt that you read talked about that. We talk about the bucks. When you talk about, I need a 10-inch or bigger.
Yeah.
The average size of the male penis is 5 inches. So where are these 10 inches that we speak of? So when we talk about, I need a 10-inch or bigger, what shame that brings to a man when he look down and he's like, I know this ain't 10. I gotta
make a stretch.
Yeah, I know this ain't 10, girl. And then just the different ways that we socialize men.
Right.
And when we talk about hypermasculinity, which I'm not condoning and saying is right, but it all comes from somewhere. And even for a female, specifically a Black female, if you don't have a big old booty, then what does that do? And even if you do have a big old booty,
what's the assumption? Yeah.
What's the assumption and what do you do? So it's a lot there.
Yeah.
It's a lot there.
No, I think it also just sets up, this is in its most insidious form, but it sets up like a breeding ground for abuse, because now you've trained Black men to be hyper masculine. You've trained Black women to feel like they need to, either show something off or act a certain way. They don't have their voice because they're like, oh, I can't fight back. I can't be too out there and too this and too that. And what happens when you mix those two things together? And when people don't know their bodies and things like that can be a recipe for disaster in the worst way.
And it teaches you that intimacy in and of itself is transactional.
Yes.
So in purity culture, it's like if I'm a virgin, if I stay pure,
right, exactly,
and then I get married, like that, my reward is marriage. Like I'm gonna get married, my man is gonna love him, be the virgin that he always wanted and desired, and and
then you don't know what you're doing.
And then he don't
love you.
You don't know what you're doing,
right.
And you never talked about the importance of communication. The other 11
I feel like
types
you deserve something because of it,
right.
And God don't work that way,
right.
And then even learning to withhold that. If that's the only thing that men want is sex. You ain't do the dishes, you ain't getting none tonight. Right.
And it becomes transactional. Well, and it's interesting, even as we studied sexuality in seminary and gone through like biblical representation of sexuality. Like I remember growing up in church and it was like sex before marriage equals bad, sex after marriage equals good, and then they sort of close the book. And even if you dig deep into the words that are represented as fornication and things like that, when you look at what those like the Greek roots and what they were talking about, they were often talking about transactional forms of sex, like prostitution, for example, right? And I'm not saying that prostitution is the only like sinful sexual behavior. What I'm saying is, I think we should be teaching sex is not transactional, not just saying, wait, once you get married, it's fine. And if you're not married, it's not fine. Like,
because it's not even transactional.
it's right. Like, because it can be transactional in inside of your marriage. You can also be a 30-year-old couple who is together and has all intents of staying together for the rest of your lives. You just never went to a courthouse or had a wedding, but you have a loving, intimate relationship in the eyes of God. So like this dichotomy that we set up doesn't actually fully cover the experiences that people are having. Like it's way more about it being transactional and not something it's supposed to be a gift from God that's intimate between a person that you have a commitment to, whether or not that commitment is on paper somewhere. Okay, y'all killing it.
Yeah, I remember it took me a while because I remember being like believing those what's the word? I'm going isms. Like, stereotypes and
yes.
Until I like mid college having like great female friends and creating safe spaces for people to be vulnerable about their emotions about it. And I was like, oh, you feel the same way as her. Wait, you're going through that? And just creating space. And I feel like what I will say now, the year 2025, I feel like this conversation is being had more and more.
It is. It is.
And that makes me thank God, right?
Yeah.
Whether it is through podcasts and spaces or just the way that this generation moves, like we want to talk about stuff.
Right.
We don't want to shy away, and that's a whole nother conversation about generations communication. But but I feel that's why I am excited like for this generation because they want to talk, they want to learn.
Yeah.
They're very susceptible to learn stuff, so you want to give them the right stuff, but they're not afraid to speak or question what the heck is going on.
Yeah. No, and we're the generation that's becoming the pastors and the deacons in the church. So that's like we're bringing these things to the forefront.
Where the cookout at?
Yeah.
I still haven't hosted my first cookout yet.
Oh, you got to get there.
No, I'm like, dang. I got to cross that off.
Yeah, you do.
You do.
That spot.
You do. All right. So this is from Up Against a Crooked Gospel. So this is a book written by a young lady named Melanie Jones Quarles. And this was, she actually takes, the verse Luke 13 verses 11 to 12. And this is, the famous verse, "Woman, thou art loosed." So, if you're not familiar, the woman is, she's crooked, she's bent over, and she's been in that, condition her entire life. When she meets Jesus, Jesus heals her, famously says, "Woman, thou art loose," and she stands up straight. And so this is from page 107 of her book. And, shout out to TD Jakes, but she kicks your back in a little bit. Not me. She does. So she says, TD Jakes' interpretation of Luke 13, 11 to 12, and the "Woman, thou art loose" movement situates black women's bodies as the site of sin and weak character. The woman in Luke attains full body restoration and promotion by Jesus to a more virtuous distinction in her community. But this only happens through a confrontation with the powers that oppose her freedom. And so, in other words, and this is common in all of Jesus's healings, oftentimes Jesus is speaking to the system that oppresses the people that he's healing. And if you read deeply, a lot of scholars say that her bent over condition is meant to represent her oppression, that she is literally bent over from, think of like a slave that has to carry cotton, bales over and over again and develops, a crooked back from that. Like she is oppressed by the system that she lives in the first century. And Jesus' healing comes not simply from saying, "Woman, thou art loose," but from a rebuke of the system around her. And her critique of TD Jakes is that what TD Jakes and the movement does, and I don't even want to just zone in on TD Jakes because it's a larger thing, is it says, oh, look, women, like you have all these things, black women specifically, you have all these things going on in your lives, and there's not men in your lives, you're single mothers, these things that tend to plague our community, and says, well, Jesus is gonna free you from all of your problems, and his rebuke isn't against the system or the men that put them there. His rebuke is against, well, you got all this stuff going on, but it's okay. Jesus is going to heal you. And she points out that, and I didn't even know this stat, the black church is 75% black women. I knew it was majority women, but 75 is astounding to me. Yeah. So in most black churches, what you have is a male pastor essentially preaching to a sea of black women, single black women. And it shouldn't be overlooked that there's an economic benefit to preaching a message that says that there's something wrong with you and you got to keep coming back here to get healed. Like, and I'm certainly not saying that that is the only reason that someone would preach like that, but it's worth noting. So my question on that is, one, how familiar are you with T.D. Jakes and the Woman Thou Art Loose movement? And then, in your view, is this movement liberative or restricting for black women in the church?
So I'm familiar with the Woman Thou Art Loose movement. And I will say yes and. Okay. So, yes, while I do feel as though historically the movement did exactly what has always been done, which is you have the male savior coming in to preach and teach and lay hands and rebuke and all the things for women. I will also say at that time for women, was that needed? Was that welcomed? Was that important? Mm-hmm. Yes. Mm-hmm. I know personally people who have attended Woman Thou Art Loose conferences mm-hmm. and have, that's what they really needed at the time. Mm-hmm. To the credit of T.D. Jakes, whether it was him himself or his team, in 2022 that changed over and he turned it over to his daughter, Sarah Jakes Roberts. Yep. So, which then was the start of the whole movement altogether. I think not even in just the black church, but in society, where you see this woman take over. Like, you see this happening, and women being able to publicly and with authority mm-hmm. speak to other women. Mm-hmm. I don't think that at the Woman Thou Art Loose movement, the conferences, it was ever just simply T.D. Jakes. There was a team of people, which consisted of many women.
That's true.
The difference is now we have a woman at the forefront, mm-hmm. and she is the face of everything, and it's the woman evolved. So it's no longer even Woman Thou Art Loose. You can do so much more. Mm-hmm. There's so much more that you're going through. You need to rise above everything that is happening, and you can. Mm-hmm. So I think while the movement started out as all of them have, with being male-led, mm-hmm. The male face at the forefront, women coming and laying all their burdens down at the altar mm-hmm. just to leave and come back again the next year. Mm-hmm. I think it also provides, which some people don't understand, a space, which why a lot of female-driven conferences, period, mm-hmm. do very well. Yeah. Because women want to hear from other women and share space mm-hmm. with other women surrounding issues that they feel other women are going through. And for so long, the black woman specifically, where else does that happen besides the black church? Mm-hmm. So, I mean, we could say what we want about the Woman Thou Art Loose. I think it has evolved. I think it has evolved, and it's on the right track of giving women that space, and not only that space, but that permission mm-hmm. that you can, like you are, and you can.
Yeah.
So,
I think you hit it on the head. I'm not even going to double down. I love that Sarah, his daughter, took over.
Yeah. Yeah.
But this whole
she's killing it too.
Yeah,
mm-hmm.
she's like people get like so excited.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. How'd I miss it? When it's like they get so mad that they missed it. But you did bring up the statistics about the 80% or 75%. Mm-hmm. And I was talking to a lot of guys because I'm trying to recruit guys to come to church. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like my side mission.
I love it.
Yeah, we need it. We need it.
They're like, I'm not listening to some other nigga tell me what to do. Mm-hmm. And that's a whole dynamic. Yeah. And that's not me. I'm super like, I guess I respect my bishop so much that it wasn't just a guy telling me what to do. I respect. Mm-hmm. I know how to serve and follow.
Right.
I know it was a chain of command. He's not perfect, whatever, but I know that's not a thing for me, like the ego thing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So when I talk to guys And then like, I don't know, man. He just gonna tell me what to do, or he gonna tell my girl what to do, and she gonna try to tell me another man told me what to do, and it's like that power dynamic. So with TD Jakes speaking to women, it's hard to rally men behind another man in that sense, because it's kind of and that's what I'm learning is like an ego thing with men. So I don't know the origin of why it started. I just know right now I'm trying to get men to come to church, and they're saying they don't want to listen. He don't know more than me. I read the same Bible. Like, what are we?
Nah, yeah,
like,
you're
what's
right.
happening?
You're right. You're right.
And I also learned that a lot of pastors are short. And I don't know.
Easy.
And I don't know what that is
either.
But also, it's like but it's kind of like whether I don't know, men following directions from another man who they don't have a personal relationship with.
Yeah.
It's like, I go to church, he's telling me to give money.
Yeah.
He's telling you to not have sex with me.
Yeah.
He's telling my kid, like, whoa, who's
Yeah.
more?
Yeah.
And that's hard for a man to walk into. And I'm learning that through conversations with men.
Oh, this is good. 2 reactions. So, one, I agree with everything you said, and I intentionally didn't bring up Sarah Jakes Roberts because I knew we would get there. Like, and I do think that TD Jakes had the right instinct there, especially when you think of how Sarah came into the light as like a pregnant teen and everything. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. So like for her to be redeemed so as publicly as she was shamed, essentially, I think is beautiful. I do agree with the author, with Ms. Quarles, though, that, and this is bigger than the Black church, but like we do often attack the victims of oppression and not the system that's causing it, even as the church. Like, so even something like, but take it off of feminism, like, you know, we have a hunger crisis. As a matter of fact, we in Kensington, we got a drug crisis, right? So it's a lot of churches around here that are going to go outside and, you know, give out food and invite people in, maybe even pass out clean needles, do harm reduction, all that kind of stuff. How many of them are also going to go down to City Hall and hold the pharmacists accountable and say, how come this stuff is getting out on the streets? How many of them are going to talk to city council members? How many of them are going to talk about poverty and systemic poverty? Like,
they'll apply for grants,
right,
to get the money to buy them needles and to pay the staff.
Right. But it's like you gotta attack. So I think that part of her critique is good. But I agree with you that doesn't make the conference not empowering. And then what you said about men is so real. It's so real. Like, and there is, I think it speaks to a larger crisis in the male community of there. And I mean, but I don't know if it's ego, hyper masculinity, whatever it is, but you know, the idea that like, yo, I'm not listening to you. I'm not listening. I know better than I did my own research, right? There's an epidemic of that. Like, I sat on YouTube, I saw the videos. I know. Just because you got your degree, you think you know everything. Like, it's one of the I pray I'm good. Like all of that kind of stuff, and that's damaging to our women, right? Like in a lot of cases, it's women saying, "Babe, let's go to church. Come on, let's go to church. Let's get our kid baptized. Let's get together as a family and focus on faith." And it's men saying, "Nah, I'm good. You can go without me. You can go without me." I know men that only go to church when they get a bad report from the doctor.
Yeah, bro.
That's the only time they go. Like,
yeah, church is, and I try to tell people like it's more. I'm not going to talk about someone's ego, pray about that, whatever. But I'm like, bro, it's community. Like, we get to just chill, like, and you get to come to another family and talk about. Someone can watch the kids tomorrow, and you don't even know. Like, you can build a relationship or whatever you're going through. Someone can have that empty apartment that y'all might need. Like, you don't even. It's more community than just following what some guy says. Now, trusting your pastor, respecting your pastor, praying about your leadership is huge, of course. But like that's like 10% to me. Yeah, like the message is 10%. Like, worship is more, community is more, service is more, right? Tithing is more. So it's like when they get caught up on that, I'm like, I don't even want. Let's not even speak about that. Let's talk about the other stuff. So.
Yeah, we also create environments. Like, I noticed the church environments that are successful with men, they kind of feed into the like manosphere incel culture almost. So it's like they almost have to be on the same algorithm as like working out and being the best man you can be and the this, that, and the third. And so they end up pushing misogynistic idea. Like the most misogynistic pastor will be the one that has men in the church. And also this is a kind of a second topic, but like I think there's an issue with men sitting under women who preach.
Oh yeah,
We had that conversation too. I think there's a lot of women pastors in the class with me. I happen to have only come up under women pastors who were my aunt and mother, so like that's not an issue for me, and I could never be in a space that didn't allow for that. But even in class, there were men in the class that were like, "Yo, the thought of sitting under a woman pastor as my leader is something that I still struggle with." Yeah. I think that's something we have to free ourselves from in the Black church.
I'd say it brings up a lot for me, so I won't even touch on all of it because I'm going all over it. But the one thing that it really brings up, like to dig to the deeper root of what's going on for some men and women, when we talk about why the church is just lacking in numbers, period.
Yeah.
A lot of church trauma and a lot of church hurt people don't want to address. And when I say people, I mean even people of authority. Like when we talk about our pastors, our leaders, addressing the church trauma and the church hurt that has happened, that people have experienced, which then leads to some of these things that can be masked by hypermasculinity. And like maybe it's not hypermasculinity, maybe you were really hurt.
Yeah.
By
Oh
someone.
yeah. Oh yeah.
And now you're saying I'm gonna be told what to do. Because when I'm hearing that, I'm like, well, everything talk about tithing and coming like that. God said that. Like who like
right.
They may just reinforce it,
right,
but like
right.
and no one can make you do any of these things. But I just think about how we don't talk about enough of these issues in the forefront. And then people are saying, like you said, it's a generation where they want things, they want to have the conversation, they want to have the red table talks.
Right.
They want to be able to sit and talk about all these things. And when you have the old time way of just being quiet and silent and not talking about things and just making assumptions, how people they're not going for it anymore. So I think it's like a plethora of reasons why just church numbers are lacking, period. And I think a lot of them could be addressed if we just started having open conversations about what's happening for people.
Yeah. That's a fact.
They also feel like they can get it from online.
That too.
That wasn't the thing. Like when you heard the word, you had to go to church.
Yeah. And I've talked about this too, even in sermons, like the bedside Baptist sort of phenomenon, and which is there's benefits to it. And look, my church live streams, and I'm glad I can tell people, hey, I did a sermon the other day. Here, check it out. Like that, all that stuff is great, but if you're not there, like you're missing the community. Like that moment where we pass the peace, or every tradition does it a little differently, but that moment where you turn to your neighbor and give him a handshake, a hug, and everything. I mean, that's a big deal. Well, peace sign. That's a big deal. Taking communion, being with your community and taking communion and thinking about what that means is important. It also transitions to our next question.
I love it.
So this next book was called The Fear of Flesh by a brother named Sean M. Copeland. It's called In Fleshing Freedom. And a little background on him that I think is important is that he's actually Catholic, which is not odd in and of itself, but in this particular topic, you would not expect, there's just not a lot of Catholic representation. And I'll get to why I think that ties into his view in a second. So this is from page 20. He says, the ambivalence with which Christian thought focuses on the sex of the matter may be traced to a persistent somophobia, or fear of flesh. This fear stems from the conceptual axis that combines distortions of Neoplatonism, its tendency to idealism, suspicion of ambiguity, and discomfort with the matter, and with Pauline and Augustine warnings about flesh and its presence. In the Eucharist, we share in Jesus' flesh and are made new. Therefore, all flesh and bodies are good. The Eucharist combats racism and sexist control of the female body. And a couple things to just point out there, because there was some words in there. So Neoplatonism, that's just Plato. So he's talking about the philosophy of Plato and like how people have revived it. And Plato's philosophy talked about sort of there's your flesh and there's your soul. Your soul is good. your flesh is bad. And then he also says with Pauline and Augustinian writings, Paul writes a lot about the sins of the flesh and the flesh being bad. Augustine, early church father, talks a lot about resisting the flesh. And so he's talking about that language and that idea that there's something inherently wrong with our flesh. And then he says in the Eucharist. So I talked about him being Catholic. Eucharist is, in like layman's terms, it just means communion. And that's what Catholics and Episcopals call communion. It comes from a Latin word that means thanksgiving. And remember that in Catholic theology, they believe that after the priest blesses communion and you take it, it is literally the body and blood of Jesus, that you are literally taking part in Jesus's body and blood. And they regard, if you ask them what the most important part of the service is, it's not the sermon, it's not the songs, it's the Eucharist. It's like the most sacred part. And we share in Jesus's flesh and we're made new. And so he goes on to say, we shouldn't look at flesh as something that's inherently bad. In fact, we become a part of Jesus's flesh when we take the Eucharist and in being Christians. And therefore, our flesh is made new and is something good. So a lot of this is he's attacking this idea of serving the flesh or being tempted by the flesh or whatever. So my question is, should Christians change the way we speak of flesh?
I know my flesh is jacked up. So don't change the way you talk about mine. I don't know about no uterus, but
Good day.
dang, what's in this junk? Halfway through?
Yeah.
That's a good question. I never thought of that. I know, like, the way I live is like, all right, identify what's flesh, what's spirit, what's mind, what's heart. Like, and call it what you want. I know was not of God.
Okay.
So, from whatever area it comes from, flesh, mind, heart, I'm like, I know that's not biblical.
Yeah.
So whatever that is, let's counter that with some scripture and what God says to do. So I'm not big on, what you call
Semantics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm really not big on semantics at all. You call it flesh, you call it foot.
Yeah.
You call it a piece of meat.
Yeah.
But I call it what does God tell me to do? And always being sensitive to the Holy Spirit. So counter whatever you know is wrong.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think just psychologically speaking, Freud called it the id. So yeah, it is what you want to do. You just want to do it. Like it's always after what it wants, regardless. I'm gonna eat. I want to sex. I'm a sex. Whatever I want to do, I'm gonna do. And then you have the super ego that is always want to do right. Like I don't know, like we're not gonna do this. And you have your ego, which if we talk about, and it's funny because it's also a trinity. The same way where we talk about the flesh, the same way we talk about the soul when we talk about your spirit.
Yeah.
And how your soul is what you're actually living in and what you want to do. So I think to stop calling it flesh, I don't think it would do anything. I think how we talk about the flesh,
and that's what I'm getting.
Yeah, how we talk about the flesh. Absolutely, I think we need to revamp because because then again we're contradicting ourselves. If God created everything and it's good, He said it's good.
Right.
Then how then can my flesh be bad and God created my flesh?
Yeah.
So like, which is it? So I think we need to talk about, like you said, walking in the fruit of the Spirit, also being disciplined, also knowing what is a God thing versus a good thing. And we do that every day when we talk about which soaps to use on your skin. You know what I mean? Like everything is not good for every person.
Yeah.
Even though it inherently in itself is good. So soap is good, but I can't use Irish Spring.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I made me a little dial.
Can't use that dollar store stuff. You know what I mean?
So like, I can't do that. Like you may wash with your hand. I need a washcloth. You know what I mean? So
everybody needs a washcloth. Hey, I just want we have a diverse audience on Bourbon and Bible Stories, and I want to encourage all of y'all to use washcloths. Loofahs too, whatever.
As long as you can set it up and get where you gotta get.
Son's going wash your legs too. Y'all know who I'm talking to.
Do what it is you gotta do. But I say that to say, like, I think of when we talk about the flesh, I think of it the same way. Right. Because if you just take a topic and you throw it out there and say, well, what does your flesh want to do? Mm-hmm. Also, depending on how God created us with different temperaments, different personalities, we may struggle with different things. Like, your stronghold may not be mine. Mm-hmm. So if we just throw things out there and tell everybody, like, die to your flesh of this. Right. That may not even be a struggle for me. Yeah. Yeah. Like, you may be able to turn down, a shrimp roll. I can't. Yeah. I cannot. So it's like, I may struggle a little more. So when we talk about in that, like, being able to talk about discipline, I think it's more of, like you said, what is the God thing to do here? Mm-hmm. What is my spirit telling me is right versus what do I just want to do? And I think Paul even talked about that, where it's like my spirit is willing, but my mind is weak. Yeah, so it's like
my mind is telling me no.
not Robert. But when we start to talk about some of these things, I think it's important to also remember that is also something that we need to talk about, because not everyone is a Bible scholar. Not everyone is in seminary. So we just throw these things at people and we don't study to show themselves approved. Then we start to take what everybody say to us. Yeah. And then we start to live by these things. Yeah. And they can be damaging.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and I agree. Like, it's I think words matter, but to a point. Like, we can definitely get too semantic-y. I think as it stands, especially when we talk about gender and race, we're talking about Black women, like, I think that we as Black people and Black women in particular have been encouraged to see their bodies as wrong. And if you take that flesh, that terminology and the sense in which it's used, which again, I think, like, biblically it's fine, but you can abuse that and it can sit on a certain group of people, particularly Black women, the wrong way, to the point that you're kind of taught to literally hate the body you're in. And you can love your body and not love Satan. Like, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's the temple,
right? Right, and and even that's actually good. That's a way to flip it. Your body is also a temple. See, you just did some hermeneutics right there. You ain't even know it. You're a little biblical, little womanist hermeneutics right there. You know what I mean? Yeah, come on, y'all. I know y'all at home writing these words down. On a t-shirt. Neoplatonism, hermeneutics. So we read a book called Womanist Ethics and the Cultural Production of Evil by Emily Towns. And so this comes from page 31. It says, along with her evil twin Jezebel, the mammy image was and remains an extremely contested site of memory and history. The image is, in short, a prime example of the history of dominant culture resorting to the denigrating myths to maintain the status quo. The mammy is a myth that has taken on reality and then moved on to become a stereotype. Her construction is a response to abolitionist claims that slave owners sexually exploited their female slaves. Mammy is constructed as an antidote to such charges. After all, who would want to abuse a desexualized, fat Black woman when the only other morally viable option was an idealized white woman? So Towns is really talking about, when she says the cultural production of evil, she's talking about these tropes that are produced. So she talks about the Jezebel trope, right? So Black women as hypersexualized. And then at the very same time, there's the mammy, right? Aunt Jemima, right? This like overweight Black woman that's supposed to be desexualized. And they kind of pit these tropes against each other. So Black women can't win for losing. You're either a Jezebel and you're trying to tempt everybody, and that justifies the slave master sexual abuse against you because look at how you were dressed and look at how you were acting. You know how those Jezebels are. Yeah. On the flip side, the mammy is sort of like, what do you mean there was abuse of women? Why would we abuse them? Look at this mammy figure. And she talks about, how insidious that is. So my question for this says, what tropes or stereotypes are pervasive in the Black church and stand in the way of liberation of Black women in particular?
You still have those tropes. But they're two ends of the spectrum. They're two radical ends of the spectrum. So you have the Jezebel, who, she
Jezebel spirit.
getting it popping, and even as you said, getting it popping and twacking, using her sexuality, as people, misquoted, but using her sexuality, her sexual influence to manipulate, coerce, get what she want. You know what I mean? Like, I'm gonna use what I got to get what I want. And then you also have Sapphire. So
we read about that too.
Yeah, so you got Sapphire, and she is more of like the I can't keep a man, not going to keep a man, like she can't even save her life. So she may still be sexy. She has the sex appeal like Jezebel may have, but she's, and she may use that, but it's using it a little differently.
I never heard of Sapphire.
Yeah, I only heard of it this past week. When I was
you have the strong black woman, so that's I don't need a man, right? So we see that a lot. I don't need a man. It's gonna be me and Jesus alone. Like that's what I need. Me, myself, and God.
That's what
So you have that.
Where are you out?
I will say the mammy. I mean, do we see it still in the black church? Yes, but those are like the mothers.
I was gonna say the church mother,
those are
the church mother.
mothers.
Widows,
like those are definitely the church mothers. So I would say what we see more. If I'm just talking about just from my generation, so millennial and down, I see strong black woman, Sapphire, and what people call them the Jezebel. Yeah. So I still do think those tropes, if we would have to put women into those tropes or categories, do we see them? Yes. The harm that they do is crazy because even in that definition that was given, if I go based off of the criteria to be fat and black already puts me as a mammy. I'm fat and black. I ain't no mammy.
Yeah.
Okay.
You gotta tell somebody.
Right.
Far from mammy.
Right.
But that already talks about when you are categorizing someone's body, a black woman's body. So if you're curvaceous and you got 36, 24, 38, whatever, then you're already Jezebel. You got to be out here hoeing. You got to be out here, splitting them, dipping it low, everything. Like that's what you have to do. Then if you're saying, no, I'm really not for men. I'm focusing on myself, or, the scorned black woman. Okay, Sapphire, now I'm the scorned black woman. And we see that a lot even when we talk about, because I see Martin there. So when we talk about Pam, before Pam got with Tommy, it was like she was the one who just couldn't keep a man. And she was beautiful. She was sexy. Again, if we talk about colorism, she was dark skinned. Yeah. So why can't the dark skin, you know what I mean? But we're not gonna go there. Yeah. But she was seen more as the sassy one to flip your neck. Like, she's doing all that. She may not have the sex appeal and the submissive way that Jezebel may do in order to gain these men. And then you have the strong black woman where it's like you never even see them with a man. They hate men. Yeah. So it's like, I don't need a man for not jack diddly squat. And we still see that. And I think we form women, we push them into sort of these roles where it's like you have to fit into one of these boxes. Yeah. And again, what I appreciate about the conversations that are had is that people are saying like, well, no, how can I embrace the fact that I want to be independent, but I also want to submit. But I want to submit to a man who's submitting. And that's the conversation that we don't always have. It's like, oh no, she got an attitude problem. Right. Do I? Like, so, and it could be that, but then how do we have that discussion about what's going on, what's happening, where we're not teaching? And that's why I said a lot of it comes from just being ill-informed. But the tropes, definitely. And are they harmful? Absolutely. Always have been, always will be. Yeah.
No, I feel like Alexis hit it on the head. And it's sad because, one, it makes people not want to come to church. Just like you want to categorize me. Like, I really just want to find God. But if I walk in here looking the way I do, you're going to put me in this box. Yeah. And I'm not going to feel comfortable. And I feel like I don't know the word, so I'm not coming. I don't want to share that I'm divorced or whatever.
That's a big one. That's a big one.
Don't talk about me. And it deters people from the church. And then the people who are in there, it's like they use they'll use. I've this is bad, but I was in a situation where someone perceived in that Jezebel category. No, serve breakfast at the men's John and get more men to come. Like they'll use the
wow.
or like
that's crazy.
Yeah, I've heard that.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and I was a kid. I said, "What the heck? Am I supposed to give me up?"
And pops some ass at the men's breakfast is wild.
Like, it's like putting somebody on a slide.
Yeah, like that's crazy. Y'all got bottle girls at men's breakfast.
Yeah, it was just like we want men to come to church.
Yeah,
yeah, that ain't how you do it.
Some they game.
Yeah.
It worked. But on the other end, the women who feel like I don't need a man, they'll keep them in the church. Mm-hmm. All right, now do this.
Yeah, and it's
like
serve.
Mm-hmm. Don't go out in the world. Don't find a husband because they're not in here. Mm-hmm. So like the church could. I'm not saying all churches. None of this is all churches. Don't get me. But it's just like you can see how people can get used for the box they get put in, even with homosexuality, right?
Yeah.
Don't do this, but you can sing.
Yeah. Oh, we talked about that. Yeah.
Whatever it is, you know what I'm saying. So it's like it's very dangerous, and it's like that's why it's super important for you to really have your own relationship with God.
Yeah.
Right. And have a good community around you to uplift you and see you for who you are.
Yeah.
And not for the box people trying to put you in.
Yeah. Yeah, so when we read this book, we wrote papers on all these books, and so I wrote about, and all my theses are on hip hop and church, so I'm always combining the two, and so I talked about Cardi B, and just side note, if you've never gotten the chance to read the lyrics of "Wet Ass Pussy" in a room full of pastors, it's a hilarious experience. I suggest everybody do it. Oh yeah. Several lyrics from the thing. That was fun. But I'm the youngest one in the room, so it's hilarious. But what I was talking about in my paper was like, you have people in the church, whether it's like, your Jackie Hill Perrys or some of your sort of younger, like poppin' pastors that are talking about artists like a Kehlani or a Cardi B in that Jezebel spirit, motif. And then on the flip side, you have like conservative white pastors or a Ben Shapiro or someone like that. And they're talking about her and they're telling her to put her body away and everything like that. So she's either too ugly and too hideous with all her curves and needs to go away, or she's too revealing and too sexy and is a Jezebel spirit. And it's like, if that's how we're publicly talking about black women as the church, like, why would they ever want to come here? You know what I mean? And like, this like insistence to police the bodies of black women is like, it needs to be examined. Like, we have to call it out. Like, we don't do this with everybody else, but it's deeply rooted in tropes like this, like that feeling that we have to police. And what's really sad is it goes down to even children. So you'll see it start happening in children's church. You'll see it start happening when the little kids start doing praise dances and they're getting fitted for their outfits, and oh, she can't wear that and this or that. Oh, your little butt too big. And I was like, whoa, why are we talking about my daughter's shape? She's 8. Like, can she just wave the flags around? Like what are we doing? So yeah, it's something that we need to examine and call out for sure. All right, so the last book that we read was actually this book right here, Black Womanist Ethics. This was by Katie G. Cannon. And so what she really does here is she sets a historical stage for the womanist movement, and she grounds all of her work in the experience of black women in slavery and in Jim Crow. So a lot of the things that we've already sort of talked about. And so I think I have two more questions to sort of wrap us up. The first one is, actually, hold on. I'm going to do this one first. How is the black church failing to meet the needs of black women in 2025?
I can start. The being ill-informed, not addressing not addressing the whole of a person. If we talk specifically about addressing the whole of a Black woman, then we do need to talk about these things that Black women in 2025 are facing. When we talk about colorism, when we talk about weightism, when like fat phobia,
Yeah, that's big.
when we talk about texturism, even and some, and it's crazy because even going back to when you was talking about Cardi B and Kehlani, I think the flip side of the policing then produces, we have this rebellion culture, right?
Yeah.
What that then produces is pseudo liberation because we have a group of people believing, well, then I'm just going to be free. I'm going to rebel against everything. I'm going to just do what I want to do. And they still find themselves unhappy. So it's like you're not happy with this, and then you go to the total opposite, and then you still find yourself lonely, sad, feeling used, abused, mistreated. What's happening? And that's because we're not providing the education that we need. So having a comprehensive holistic sexuality education could definitely help.
Tagline. Mission statement.
Because what are we talking about? We're talking about sensuality. We're talking about attraction. We're talking about intimacy. These are all things you could point. They're right there in the book.
Yeah.
We're talking about identity. What is your role as a woman? No, everyone tells you what to do and what not to do. How do you identify as a woman?
Yeah.
So this is not even to go against what may be taboo when we talk about sexual orientation and different things like that. But okay, I'm a Black woman. I identify as a woman. What does that even mean to me to be a woman? It may not mean the same thing to the next Black woman. I don't like dresses and skirts.
Yeah, right.
You may not you rarely see me in a dress and a skirt. Unless then I might wear a dress. But other than so what does that mean for how do I express? What does my gender expression look like as a Black woman?
Yeah.
What is that? What sexual behaviors, what desires, fantasies, whatever, what sits well with me? What am I saying? As for me and my house, this can go.
Yeah.
For me and my undefiled bed, this is what can happen.
Right.
It's up to you.
Yeah.
We're not talking about sexualization. We're not talking about how purity culture then teaches and leans women to be transactional with sex and to withhold sex, which also is a sin.
Yeah.
So we're not having these type of conversations. We just want to tell people, oh, you know, do this or don't do this when it regards around sexuality, when it comes around being a woman, how you identify. But then we're not providing the space for people to sit and say that I have a lot of identities, and sometimes within my own place that I'm supposed to be safe, which is the church, I have to have invisible identities. So then you have invisible intersectionality, and then we're not able to fully be ourselves.
Yeah.
And that's not even getting into what the church would call a lot of the taboo identities.
Yeah.
This is talking about what y'all would say is just and right.
Right.
That I'm not allowed to express and come forth with who I truly am.
Yeah.
And I think it's because we're not, again, communication. We're not talking about these things. And if we were to sit down and talk about it and be real about it and not just say, oh, pray about it, baby. The Lord will handle it. Like, okay, I could pray, but the Lord, like, come on, there ain't. How do you apply this? The Lord also gave people, when Jesus was teaching, he didn't just say, just pray about it. He taught in parables to also say, this is how you apply these things.
Yeah, it was action.
So
there was
the
action.
application is not there enough. I won't say there aren't churches with missions. My church is a great church with that mission change church. But I will say that that's not the mission as a whole. And it's sad because we are losing people. And it's not like we're losing people to something better. We're losing people to just wander around lost.
Yeah.
Because again, the same people who would say, I ain't going to church because I don't want you to tell me what to do with my body. I'm going to go out here and pop, twat, drop. You're still sitting at home sad.
Yeah.
Because that man won't call you back. Because you're lying to yourself, telling you that sex is, you know, it ain't, no feelings got to be attached.
Right.
But that ain't how you built, sis. That's not how you built, bruh.
Right. Yeah. You got feelings, dog. Yeah.
But we're not having these conversations. And I think especially in today's society where you can chat GPT how to be saved, and You can have a conversation with
ChatGPT, how I get into heaven. Yeah.
Like when you can do that, it's important to say like, listen, like this ain't that.
Yeah.
And we need to be able to sit down as the new aunties and uncles and pastors and leaders and say like, listen, we know what we was taught and they meant well. And that's why I say I also don't want to demonize the black church from the past because they were doing what
they were doing what they thought was
They were
best.
doing what they knew was best.
That's true.
What helped them survive for that time.
Yep.
And we also need to be comfortable with bringing them along. Like, we got to come along. If you want to get love, you get love. But we can't stay there.
That's good.
Yeah, like
no, that's good. That's good.
We need to elevate and evolve. Because, but yeah, I got nothing but love for the church. Like I said, I'm a church girl through and through. I got nothing but love for the church. And at the same time, I literally sit in a place where I am not fully accepted by either.
Yeah.
As a Christian sexologist, the other sexologist is just far from the oppressor, like not a Christian oppressor.
Right.
And then you have the Christians who just like,
sex.
It's a clit. You talking about the clitoris?
Yeah. Oh Lord. Oh Jesus.
No. And it's like God.
That is not of God. Yeah.
God made that.
Yeah.
Like he said, it was good.
And I want to point out.
Oh, sorry.
Hard to find is funny. Get this guy a map, guys. Come on. It's different on everyone. I've heard. One of the things I want to point out, just to underpin one of the points you said, is you said we're losing these people, and we're not even losing them to something better. Yeah. Pew Research Center does the most comprehensive survey of Christianity and church and like where people are going, how many people are joining, or all religions in general. They do it like it's either every year, every 2 years, whatever it is. In the most recent survey, the fastest and largest growing religious group is none. Not atheist. I want to be clear. Atheist is not growing. Atheist has been stagnant for like 20 years. Right. It's like 3%. Like it's like that's a specific group who's like atheist, agnostic. They've essentially been the same. It's religious. We call them religious nuns. That's people who say, I'm not atheist, but I don't identify with any religion. And if you dig deep into these, yes, it's the spiritual but not religious. It's people who I used to go to church but I don't anymore, but I kind of do my own thing. I got some crystals, I do my little thing here, I burn some sage, like I got my little this and my little that. So like people aren't giving up on God, they're giving up on church. Like so like that, like and like that should be the wake up call. Like it's not like people are rejecting the conceptual idea that a God exists. Like they're rejecting what you trying to tell me and what you're trying to teach me, and it's because we don't create space for all these identity groups. And I want to name, because we haven't named it specifically, we don't also create space for queer people in the church, and specifically queer black women. And when I say queer, that can mean a lot of things. And we have a very specific box that we put people in. And some people might be queer and they might not necessarily be some very specific, letter that you identify them as. They just know that they operate differently, and we have to have space for all of those people. They're all children of God, and for the most part, they all believe in God.
Yeah, I would say, I feel like you guys say this, so I won't do too much, but we're doing a disservice by, and you hit on it, like the past generation, they did the best they could with what they knew to get through the times. Yeah. But we're not doing a good job of the changing of the guard and putting people in leadership that might be younger or more progressive, right?
Yep.
And progressive, I just mean like understanding that we need to have more conversations. Like they're not uncomfortable having uncomfortable conversations. They understand that God made it a certain way, right? So putting people in places, because when you go to church, we go to church, but we're not the people that they're like listening to unless they're outside of our own community group.
Right.
Yeah.
Like the people in leadership, it needs to be a changing of guard, some shifting, some, promoting, demoting, whatever you want to call it. But like it has to be more people at the table with this mindset. And I feel like we're doing a disservice by keeping, like the president can't go past 8 years, but the deacon Head deacon can be there until they die.
Yeah.
So it's like, why we not vote? We need to do some elections.
Yeah. No, that's true.
So
That's
just
true.
like understanding like this is the time we're in, and like people hold on, their identity is attached to their church position, but their mindset hasn't grown.
Yeah.
So it's like you're still in this position, but like you're still in 1988, and like no, we trying to get, and you can't. Excuse me. No, do your little young adult thing or
right. Do youth group.
You ain't taking my spot.
Right.
So I feel like we're doing this service by not opening the door for new thoughts and ideas.
Yeah. No, that's good.
And referring out, because like I say all the time, like we also put, I think, this weight on our leaders to know everything.
That's good.
And it's like, that to me is a burden that some leaders may also face, where they feel like I gotta know everything. Like I don't know enough about sexuality to be up in the pulpit talking about all these different things. I don't know enough about.
I can't find my wife's clit. I don't know what to.
Exactly. How am I telling you? All I know is be fruitful, multiply.
Yeah. I can make some babies. That's about it.
I can do that. But it's like we're afraid to also share the space, which I think also goes into what Ricky was talking about, like sharing the space, being able to say like, I don't know, but we about to have a guest speaker come in and talk about knowledge.
Well, and also like I'm a school administrator as well, and like when we have sex ed in school, we get pushback from parents, and it's like we all like I think we should have sex ed in church, like we should have sex ed in youth group, we should have sex ed in like like we have church and spiritual formation and education for a reason. But imagine how much pushback you get in some circles. You say, oh, and this Sunday in youth group is sex ed Sunday, and we got
Wednesday night
Dr. Freddie B coming out. Like ease it in. That's crazy.
When your daughter doesn't know about her menstrual cycle,
right.
Says I'm on my cycle. You're always on your
still learning.
Like you don't, and even grown men, like grown men that don't know, grown women that don't know. You go through these cycles and you don't even know what's happening for you.
You mad at your wife? You don't even know what phase she in.
We limit, and I coined Dr. Lex Brown James. We limit sex to
Lex
just the first.
Brown James.
They limit sex to the first three letters, like sexuality education. Sexuality is so much more than just the act of sex. And that's the problem. And people are afraid of that. Whatever. How do you think you got here? I don't even, but that's neither here nor there. But we don't call in some of these things, and then you're sitting down with a pastor having premarital counseling, and but the pastor don't even know it's 12 different types of intimacy. To me, to again and go to what I was saying, like to put this pressure on people to know everything, whether it's the youth pastor, whether it's the marriage and family who's a pastor, whatever it is, call people in, refer out.
Refer out resources.
Use your resources.
That's huge. People don't want to do that because they don't want to diminish or. First of all, church politics is we can't even go to the same.
Don't get me started. We can't
even go to the same bowling alley at the same time. Whose name is on the flyer?
Exactly.
Right.
And we're not going there, but that's huge. That would change the game.
And by the way, that's best practice. Like when I took my pastoral care and counseling class, one of the first things you learn is like, as someone who's not a licensed therapist, I can only give you, I think it's like 3 consultations before I'm mandated to be like, I need to refer you to or it might be 6, but whatever it is, like I need to refer you to a mental health professional. And even like
PowerPoint slides are done.
Facts. And even like I do premarital counseling with people, and it's like the first thing I have to say is like, I am not a marriage counselor. I'm not a relationship therapist or anything like that. I'm here to work with you about your spiritual life and your preparation for marriage. But should you need relationship counseling, I'm going to refer it out. Like, I'm not going to try to be that in that moment. Right. Especially in the era of podcasts, because all they do is get up on these mics and lie. Say whatever.
I can tell you all about sexuality. I cannot exegete the scripture.
Right.
I don't know how to build your brain.
Right.
refer out.
Right.
We don't want to do that enough because that also takes humility. It also takes you to say like, I don't know. But I'm gonna help you because if your goal is to help this person, then at the end of the day, me saying I don't know, but I'm gonna find out. I'm gonna find you a resource. I'm still helping you. It don't have to be my name, and that goes back to what Ricky was saying. Like everybody wants their name to be the greatest thing, or say like, oh, I got my help from this person. Like it don't have to be from me.
It don't have to be. Did you grow? Did you learn?
Right.
Like, did you become 1% better? Just like it's
come on, Atomic Habits. Let's go.
That's every podcast, bro. Yeah, everybody's like
1% better.
But it's just like, what's the goal? Like, is it about you? Is it about you? You're in the wrong business.
It's an ego thing. Yeah.
If you're about you and it's your pastor, you're in the wrong business.
Yeah.
If you don't always point up.
One of the best lessons I got when we were learning about preaching, and this was specifically from the Episcopal church. So you've come to my church, like the Episcopal tradition. The sermon's like 15 minutes. Like it's not long. And one of the things they said is like it's not our job to like bring God to people. It's our job to get out of the way so that God can meet with people. And like the idea is like don't drone on too long. Don't make it about you. Don't make it a performance about yourself. Don't make it theatric. Don't preach the gospel. Talk about what's going on and get out of the way so God can move. And yeah, we have too much of a culture of trying to turn everything into to a TED talk. Yeah. All right.
Ted, no shade.
Yeah, no shade on Ted. Last question. It ties into our last to what we were just saying. What does a sexually liberated church look like?
I mean, I already said it. A comprehensive sexuality education curriculum. And if you can't get the curriculum, just provide the space for people to talk about it. And I'm not talking about the marriage and couples retreats.
Yeah.
Don't tell me all that at the marriage and couples retreat. Y'all can do but I'm talking about the baby church.
Yeah.
We need like what is safe touch?
Yeah.
What are your private areas? To know that that's your penis, not your wee wee.
Right.
To know that that's your vulva, not your pocketbook. To move up to adolescence and teaching males about erections and teaching the females that you also can have wet dreams in your teenage years. It's not isolated to males.
Right.
That these things happen for you too. Moving on up to singles, to young adults, to emerging adults, whatever it is, having these conversations about intimacy. What does it look like to date?
Yeah.
What does it look then to go to date as a Christian? What are your values? What are your morals? How do they sit? What does God say? What do you say? And how does that fit in? Because a lot of what we're talking about when it comes to sexuality, there is gray area.
Yep.
And I believe that's purposeful because, like I said, everybody is not conditioned the same way. So if something is pleasing and pleasuring for me, it may not be that way for you. That doesn't mean that it is wrong. If I want my toe sucked, where do it say I can't have my toe sucked in the Bible? Like
it ain't in there.
Am I a demon? From the pits of hell because I like a little toe suck.
Say something about the pinky. The pinky crooked. You gotta stay away from.
What you think they was washing feet? What you think they was washing feet for?
But these are the spaces where then people get stuck, and then when you isolate sexuality education to a specific group, marriage and couple, like. So what happens when I'm single? I don't get horny when I'm single?
Right.
Like,
you gotta talk about masturbation. You gotta talk about,
and then like, how do I even learn once I get there? And I always say, like, when I'm sitting with a couple and they do have these strong beliefs around what is okay or allowed, or God smiles on this sexual act and not this sexual act, I always say, like, in no way, like, when we accept Christ, for those who are born again, or when you are been in the church all your life, there comes a point in time, because we both talked about, even as adults, having to refine and restructure our relationship with Christ. And no point in time were we then immediately expected to know everything about God, to know all the scriptures for the truth.
No, that's what formation is for.
Our imprint. But somehow we lead people to believe that once you're married, you're going to be downloaded with all the freak nasty things or not, or you're going to know how to turn somebody upside down or how to swing from a chandelier and flip it and dip it and strip it. And it's like,
flip it, dip it, and strip it?
Dip it, strip
and strip it.
Like,
okay.
Like, no, like,
yes, Lord.
we expect those things to happen without any education.
Yeah.
So let's say I did go through pure, like, let's say I waited, I'm a virgin, I'm, you know, that night come and I'm like, all right, you know what to do? Now, he a virgin too. No, you know what to do? But because he's also the man in the situation, he has to put on this facade that he already know how to take it down.
Right.
So now you
I watch porn.
Now you got to thumping.
That's another problem, right?
I watch porn.
We just breathing hard and heavy, and for nothing's happening. The angel of orgasm is not coming.
Right.
And neither will you.
It's not going to pass over. And neither will you.
Passing right over your bedroom. Right. You don't have that comprehensive education, and these are the things that we need. And again, not to even just limit it to the sexual behaviors and acts, but just those things. Well, what happens to that fat black young lady who's sitting in the audience and may say, I don't assign or ascribe to this ideal or this ideology of womanhood. I love Christ with all my heart, but I don't ascribe to that. Like, I don't feel comfortable in that. So now I have to become something that I'm not. Right. Because to be who I am is either not being talked about or is being taught that it is wrong. Right. There are still some churches who say you can't come up in here unless, like, we visited a church that said if you have on pants as a female, you will not be allowed in the sanctuary.
Oh yeah, I know people. Yeah.
And I ain't that old. So for that to have still been happening, and we're talking about in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like these are things that we need to talk about. So to become sexually liberated, I think we need to start by having people come in that know what they're talking about.
Yep.
And allowing people to have these conversations and taking away what we're afraid of. Like, God did not give us a spirit of fear, yet we're afraid to talk about sexuality.
Yeah.
Why? What you think is going to happen?
Right.
People not going to start sexing in the pews.
Right.
This is not what's going to happen. And it's even when you say that about like the school that you teach, parents are afraid. And again, like statistics, studies show, science shows, the more children know, the more people know about sex, the more they actually wait. Like if I know what can happen, then you can't hit me with the let me just stick the tip in.
Like, no, I know what that is.
Let me just go in the back real quick. That ain't sex.
That's not sex. Just sit on it.
Like, sex. Like let me take my dirty finger and stick it in. Like, like come on.
Yeah.
When we know more, then we can do better. You know better, you do better. That's real. And that's in every aspect of life. So I think with me, knowledge is power, and I know it's a cliche, but it really is in every area of your life, including sexuality.
And I think I just want to add this one thing. Like, I think it's so real what you're saying about teaching kids young, and to name something that people are uncomfortable to talk about. There's a lot of sexual abuse in the church. I'm talking about abuse of children. And it's across all denominations too. People like to hone in on Catholics. It's actually a pretty even across all denominations. And teaching young children how to identify their parts and what's to be touched and what's not to be touched actually goes a long way. Statistics show to lessening the ability to abuse, because they're able to name.
What you doing?
Yeah, exactly. They're able to name, you're not supposed to touch me there. You're not supposed to do that. And they know to tell somebody. So this is deeper than just getting people to meet the angel of orgasm. Like, this is also like keeping our children safe in, unfortunately, our churches have been susceptible to predators. And we have to deal with that reality. We can't act like it's not something that's there.
No, everything y'all said, I know we're coming on time, but everything y'all said, but strategically and intentionally putting people in place for these things. Like having a system like a directory,
a resource.
All right, this is what I'm a resource. Like this is who you talk to for this who you talk to for this. This is the minute they meet here on this, blah, blah, blah. And just being really intentional, not being like, ask the pastor.
Yeah. Stop asking me, yo. I ain't got it.
I ain't got it.
No, you can't.
Being intentional about putting the right people in place to address these issues, needs, and questions.
Yeah.
And owning that, pointing people to that, and then just being really open and honest about, hey, these are things that happen. This is what we have in place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. No, that's great. That's perfect, and I think that's the perfect way to wrap up. And this was a great conversation. Dr. Smallwood, you appreciated this conversation. Let me get that A. Get that.
Bro.
Dr. Yoon and Dr. Smallwood. Let me get that A. But no, honestly, like I'm so appreciative of everybody that listens. Please subscribe. Also, like in the comments or DM wherever, let me know if you like this. I really had a lot of fun here. This is a different format than what we've done in the past, and I kind of want to keep doing this. So if y'all like this and y'all want to hear more, please let me know. Where are you guys on social media?
Alexis Freddie B on Instagram and TikTok. You can find me at alexisfreddib.com if you are interested in working with me.
Ricky B. Philly everywhere.
All right.
Ricky, the letter B, Philly.
All right. And I'm Bourbon and Bible Stories on Instagram and Bourbon Bible Stories on YouTube. Thank you guys for tuning in, listening, sharing, liking, subscribing. God bless you. And have a good night, evening, afternoon, wherever you are. Peace.